Stop right where you are. Yes, literally stop walking for a moment, because what I'm about to share might completely change the way you think about aging, mobility, and the idea of staying active after 65. It might sound unusual, maybe even a little unbelievable, but hear me out. If you're over the age of 65 and walking is the only type of exercise you rely on, you might unintentionally be speeding up the exact muscle loss you're trying to avoid. And this isn't some dramatic statement for attention. This is something I've witnessed repeatedly in real clinical settings throughout years of experience working with thousands of older adults across different backgrounds, lifestyles, and health conditions. In my career as a surgeon, I've had countless conversations with seniors who tell me proudly that they walk every single day, sometimes for long distances. They tell me they're being active, staying healthy, keeping their heart strong, and doing what they believe is the best option for their body. But then in the very same conversation, they'll tell me that getting up from a chair feels harder than it used to, or their legs shake whenever they try to stand for too long, or they had a frightening experience slipping in the bathroom, or they're scared to travel because balancing on uneven surfaces or climbing stairs feels risky. Some people even tell me they avoid family gatherings, vacations, or outings because they fear a fall might happen somewhere far from home. And each time I hear those stories, I know exactly what's happening beneath the surface. See, the truth, and this is where many people over 65 get blindsided, is that walking by itself is a low-resistance, low-intensity activity. It's amazing for your heart, fantastic for your mental well-being, beneficial for stress reduction, circulation, and even mood. But after the age of 65, your muscles adapt so strongly to walking that the stimulus becomes too small to trigger real strength building. In fact, by that age, your muscles are losing responsiveness every year due to a natural process called sarcopenia, meaning they require much stronger, more deliberate signals to grow, rebuild, and maintain strength. To put it simply, if walking is the only exercise you do, your muscles stop listening. It's like they've gone partially deaf to that activity. They need something louder. They need something more challenging. They need resistance-based movements that tell them, wake up, rebuild, get stronger, stay active. And here's the thing almost no one tells seniors. You don't need to lift heavy weights, join a gym, hire a trainer, or buy expensive equipment to start reversing muscle loss. You don't need complicated routines, high-impact workouts, or high-risk activities. In fact, you only need 3 simple surgeon-approved movements, each designed to target the areas where seniors lose the most strength: legs, upper body, and dynamic balance. You can do them at home in under 10 minutes, and the improvements start surprisingly fast. Let's start with the first movement, a powerful foundational exercise called the sit-to-stand, often known as the chair squat. Think of this as the gateway to your independence. The movement that determines whether you can get out of bed easily, stand up from a chair without assistance, rise from the toilet safely, or lower yourself into the car without struggling. To begin, grab a sturdy chair, nothing flimsy, nothing that slides, ideally something with a stable base. Stand in front of the chair with your feet shoulder-width apart and your toes pointing forward. Now, push your hips backward as if you're aiming to sit down, keeping your core lightly engaged and your back straight. Lower yourself slowly until you just barely touch the chair. Don't collapse into it. Don't relax. Don't let your muscles switch off. The moment you feel the seat, press through your heels, tighten your glutes, and rise back up tall. That's 1 repetition. And even though it seems simple, it activates some of the most important muscle groups in your entire body. Start with 5 reps, 3 times a week. It might feel challenging at first, but that's exactly what you want. Your muscles need to be challenged to grow. Studies show that improving this single movement can reduce your chance of falling by up to 50%, improve leg power, repair neural pathways, and rebuild the communication between your brain and your muscles. Now we move to the second movement, the wall push-up, yo. You are key to upper body power. Upper body strength is massively underrated in seniors because people assume only legs matter for fall prevention. But the ability to push open a door, catch yourself during a trip, or lift yourself from a bed depends heavily on your chest, shoulders, and triceps. To perform the movement, stand 1 arm's length away from a wall. Place your palms flat on the surface, slightly wider than your shoulders, fingers pointed upward. Slowly bend your elbows and lower your chest toward the wall for a count of 2 seconds. Keep your elbows at about a 45 degrees angle from your body. This protects your shoulder joints and keeps the work where it should be. When you reach the bottom, push yourself back to your starting position with control. Aim for 8 to 10 repetitions. This motion improves functional upper body force, boosts stability through the arms, and strengthens the muscles that protect you if you ever need to break a fall with your hands. The third movement, and arguably the most transformative, is the standing march with arm swing, a dynamic balance exercise designed to train real-world stability. Balance is not just about standing still. It's about how your body reacts while moving. This movement helps retrain the coordination between your brain, your core, and your legs. Stand behind a sturdy chair and hold it very lightly, just for safety, not for support. Lift your right knee toward your hip while swinging your left arm forward, just like a slow, controlled marching motion. Then switch sides. Left knee up, right arm forward. Do this for 30 seconds. Rest briefly, then repeat 2 more times. This activates your core, challenges your coordination, and improves the cross-body pattern your brain uses when walking on uneven ground, stepping off curbs, climbing stairs, or catching yourself during stumble. And that's all it takes. 3 movements, no equipment, less than 10 minutes. Consistency is what matters. Do these exercises 3 times a week, and you'll begin to reclaim strength, reverse muscle decline, boost your confidence, and restore your independence. In fact, I want you to try something right now. Yes, in this exact moment. Stand up and perform just 1 sit to stand. Feel how your legs activate. Feel how your balance shifts. Feel how your body responds instantly. That sensation? That's your signal. That's the beginning of rebuilding real functional strength. If this message empowers you, inspires you, or helps you understand your body better, comment below with "I'm starting today." Every comment motivates the algorithm to show this message to more seniors who desperately need it. And next week, I'll share the number 1 protein mistake destroying muscle in people over 65. And trust me, you do not want to miss that. Share this with someone you care about, a parent, a friend, a neighbor, because strength after 65 isn't about age, luck, or genetics. Strength is a choice. And today, you just made yours. As we continue exploring this journey of rebuilding strength after 65, it's important to understand something deeper, something that most people never learn until their mobility is already fading. The human body doesn't lose strength suddenly. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't collapse in a single moment. Strength fades quietly, slowly, almost silently in the background, disguised beneath habits that feel healthy enough. Many older adults walk daily, stay active with chores, tidy their homes, climb stairs occasionally, and assume they're doing all the right things. Yet beneath these routines, muscle fibers continue shrinking, neuromuscular communication weakens, and balance reactions slow. And because this decline is subtle, many don't notice it until it's already limiting their independence. This is why walking alone becomes a deceptive comfort zone. It feels like movement, but it lacks the resistance needed to stimulate meaningful growth. And that's where targeted movements become essential. When you introduce deliberate strength exercises after 65, they wake up dormant muscle fibers that walking no longer activates. They reprogram your brain-to-muscle pathways, improving reaction time, balance, posture, stability, and mobility in a way simple walking can't match anymore. One of the biggest hidden issues seniors face is the gradual weakening of fast-twitch muscle fibers, the fibers responsible for quick reactions, quick steps, and sudden stabilization when you slip or trip. These fibers decline rapidly with age, especially without resistance training. When someone slips in the bathroom, missteps on a curb, or catches a toe on the carpet, the body must react instantly. If those fast-twitch fibers have deteriorated, the legs don't fire quickly enough, the arms don't brace in time, the core doesn't stabilize fast enough, and that's when falls happen. And a fall after 65 is not just a fall. It's one of the biggest predictors of long-term mobility loss. But here's the empowering part. The simple movements we discussed, like the sit-to-stand, wall push-up, and standing march, directly target and reawaken those fast-twitch fibers. This means every time you practice these exercises, you are literally rebuilding your body's emergency response system. You are creating the strength to recover from stumbles, regain your balance, catch yourself with your arms, or stabilize your core during unexpected movements. This is functional strength, the strength that matters in everyday life. Another powerful benefit of incorporating these targeted exercises is the improvement in joint stability, something walking alone doesn't provide. When you strengthen your glutes, thighs, shoulders, and core, you reduce the pressure on your knees, hips, and spine. That means you walk better, stand taller, and experience less pain from daily activity. Many seniors who rely on walking as their main exercise often complain about knee grinding, hip stiffness, or lower back discomfort. That's because walking reinforces the same movement pattern repeatedly without strengthening the stabilizing muscles that support the joints. But when you incorporate resistance movements, even simple bodyweight ones, you start balancing your body again. You strengthen the supporting muscles that keep your joints aligned and protected. After a few weeks of this, many older adults notice they can walk farther with less discomfort, climb stairs with more confidence, and stand for longer without fatigue. This is why building strength is often the missing piece for seniors who think they're doing everything right but still feel weak. Now let's dive deeper into how the second movement, the wall push-up, impacts your daily function in ways most people never think about. When you strengthen your chest, triceps, shoulders, and upper back, you're not just improving your ability to push yourself up from bed or catch yourself during a fall. You're improving your breathing mechanics. A strong chest and upper back support better posture. Better posture means your lungs expand more fully. When you breathe better, your blood oxygen improves. When your blood oxygen improves, your brain receives more oxygen, giving you sharper mental clarity, less fatigue, better focus, and even improved mood. That's why many seniors who begin upper body exercises report suddenly feeling more awake, more energized, more mentally alert. Strength in one area often improves multiple systems of the body. And because the wall push-up is low impact, safe for most shoulder types, and adaptable to any fitness level, it becomes one of the most powerful exercises older adults can start with. It builds strength that you use every day, often without realizing it. Pushing doors, lifting objects, carrying groceries, steadying yourself on furniture, even getting up from the ground if needed. The third movement, the standing march with arm swing, plays an even bigger role than just balance. It improves cross-body coordination, something most people never think about until they lose it. When you swing the opposite arm with each marching step, you are reactivating the communication between both sides of your brain and both sides of your body. This pattern is essential for safe walking, safe turning, safe stepping, safe climbing, and safe transitioning. It improves your gait, your reaction speed, your rhythm, and your walking stability. Many seniors who lose balance easily don't realize that their cross-body coordination is slipping. They start walking more rigidly, with less arm swing, less knee lift, and less core engagement. That rigid pattern increases fall risk significantly. But the marching movement retrains your natural gait pattern, restoring fluidity, mobility, and responsiveness. And because it engages your core with every controlled lift, it strengthens the very muscles that protect your spine and support your lower back. Most importantly, it helps your brain fire signals faster, reducing hesitation and improving balance confidence. One of the biggest emotional challenges seniors face is the fear of losing independence. Many older adults won't express this fear openly, but it's there, quietly weighing on their mind every time they feel unsteady, every time they avoid stairs, every time they say no to an invitation because they don't want to be embarrassed or feel unsafe. This fear grows the moment balance becomes unreliable. The moment getting up from a chair feels heavy. The moment a fall happens, even a small one. But the incredible truth is this: the body is capable of rebuilding strength at any age. Studies show people in their 70s, 80s, and even 90s can build muscle, increase stability, and improve strength dramatically with the right exercises. Muscles don't stop responding. They only need the correct stimulus. And that's where these surgeon-approved movements unlock results. They aren't random exercises. They are specifically chosen to rebuild the foundation of functional independence. They restore confidence, the confidence to move freely, travel again, walk without fear, get out of bed with ease, enjoy life, and stay active with grandchildren or loved ones. This journey isn't about preventing aging, but about aging powerfully. It's about taking control of your physical future rather than letting it shrink quietly behind the scenes. It's about pushing your muscles to reawaken, retrain, and rebuild in ways that walking alone can never achieve. And whether you start with 1 repetition or 10, every movement is a signal to your body that strength still matters, that mobility still matters, that life still has places for you to go. Strength after 65 is not a dream. It is a choice. And by choosing resistance movements, you are choosing vitality. Another critical aspect most seniors don't realize is how deeply strength is connected to stamina. People often think stamina is only related to the lungs or the heart, but in reality, stamina is limited by the strength of your muscles. When your legs are weak, you get tired faster. When your core is weak, you cannot stand for long. When your upper body is weak, even simple tasks like carrying groceries or climbing stairs feel exhausting. Many seniors mistake this exhaustion for being out of shape, but the truth is that the body must work harder when the foundation muscles are weak. A strong body is efficient. A weak body burns through energy quickly. This is why many older adults feel drained after walking short distances. They aren't lacking endurance. They're lacking muscular support. The exercises we're focusing on don't just strengthen muscles. They increase the efficiency of every movement your body makes. So when you strengthen the muscles that support your posture, hips, spine, and shoulders, everyday tasks begin to feel 30% to 50% easier. This is often why seniors report feeling younger after several weeks of strength training. It's not magic, it's physics. When your body is stronger, your energy lasts longer. Another factor to understand is something called neuromuscular lag. As people age, the connection between the brain and the muscle slows down. Not because the brain stops working, but because those neural pathways are no longer being challenged. Imagine you have a highway that no one uses anymore. The lines fade, the road cracks, the surface gets rough. But the moment you start driving on it again, the city repairs it. The same thing happens with your brain-muscle connections. When you do the sit-to-stand, for example, your brain is forced to fire signals faster to multiple areas. The hips, the thighs, the glutes, the abs, the lower back, and even your stabilizer muscles along your spine. This reactivates pathways that haven't been used in years. When you do the standing march, your brain has to coordinate opposite sides of your body. This reopens cross-hemisphere pathways, improving balance and reaction time. When you do wall push-ups, your shoulder stabilizers, chest muscles, elbow joints, and wrist tendons must all work in harmony. This rewires communication that walking never demands. The neurological improvements from these exercises may actually be more important than the muscle improvements. You're not just building strength, you're restoring a communication system. Many seniors also underestimate the role of core stability. The word core gets used so often that it starts to lose meaning, but your core isn't just your stomach muscles. It includes dozens of deep muscles along your spine, hips, lower back, pelvis, and abdomen. These muscles protect you every time you stand, sit, twist, bend, reach, step, and balance. A weak core is one of the biggest contributors to falls. When the core is weak, the body becomes stiff, the gait becomes unstable, and the legs begin compensating. That causes knee pain, hip pain, and lower back fatigue. Walking alone doesn't train the deep core muscles because walking is repetitive and doesn't challenge rotational, stabilizing, or lifting patterns. But a simple movement like the standing march challenges the core with every single repetition. Your body must stabilize as one knee rises, as your weight shifts, as your arm swings, as your balance adjusts. This creates thousands of micro-corrections in your core, all of which strengthen the protective muscles that keep you upright. Over time, this not only improves balance, but also reduces back pain, improves posture, and helps you move with more confidence and fluidity. Another element that must be addressed is bone health. After the age of 50, especially for women, bone density begins to decline. Walking contributes to bone health only minimally because it is not a load-bearing activity for the upper body and does not apply enough resistance to stimulate bone growth in the lower body. But resistance exercises like squatting from a chair or doing wall push-ups place healthy stress on the bones. This tells the body to reinforce the skeletal structure, making bones thicker, stronger, and more resilient. This is why doctors often recommend resistance training for people with early osteopenia or osteoporosis. What many people don't know is that strengthening the muscles around the bones also protects those bones during daily activities. Strong thighs protect the knees. Strong glutes protect the hips. Strong shoulders protect the upper spine. Strong arms protect the wrists during a fall. Strength training is not just about muscles. It's about creating a shield around your skeleton, keeping you safer from fractures and injuries. One of the most overlooked benefits of these targeted exercises is their impact on metabolism. Muscle tissue burns more energy than fat, even at rest. After the age of 65, metabolism naturally slows, making weight management more difficult. Many seniors gain fat, even though they eat the same amount they always have. That's because they're losing muscle mass, which slows metabolic burn. When you rebuild even a modest amount of muscle through simple exercises, your metabolism increases. This helps regulate weight more easily, stabilizes blood sugar, reduces inflammation, improves circulation, and lowers the risk of chronic conditions like type 2 diabetes. This is one reason many seniors report feeling warmer, more energetic, less sluggish, and more mentally alert once they begin strengthening exercises. Their metabolic engine gets reactivated. These exercises also play a huge role in confidence rehabilitation, a concept that doesn't get enough attention. Physical weakness often leads to social withdrawal. Seniors might tell their families they don't feel like going out anymore or prefer staying home, but the truth is more complex. They're afraid of falling. They're afraid of being embarrassed. They're afraid of not being able to keep up. They're afraid of appearing fragile. But as strength improves, confidence rises. When a person realizes they can stand up without pushing off their arms, when they feel stable walking across a room, when they feel steady stepping into a store or climbing onto a bus, something changes inside them. They stop feeling fragile. They stop feeling old. They stop limiting themselves. Confidence is freedom, and strength creates that confidence. Many studies show that older adults who regularly perform targeted strength exercises report significant improvements in mood. This happens for several reasons. First, strength training increases blood flow to the brain, which improves clarity and reduces mental fog. Second, these exercises release endorphins, the body's natural feel-good chemicals, which help reduce anxiety and depression. Third, completing even simple exercises gives a sense of accomplishment, which boosts emotional resilience. Fourth, as mobility improves, independence increases, and with greater independence comes a stronger sense of purpose. This emotional transformation is just as important as the physical one. And perhaps the most beautiful part of all this is that the exercises we're discussing don't require perfection. They don't require youth. They don't require experience. They don't require equipment. They require only consistency. Even if someone starts with 1 repetition instead of 5, or 10 seconds instead of 30, every effort counts. Every movement signals the body to rebuild. Every session strengthens the pathways that protect you. Strength is not built overnight, but it is built steadily, and it is built at any age. As we move deeper into understanding how strength changes after 65, we have to talk about something incredibly important yet rarely discussed: movement quality. Movement quality refers to how smoothly, efficiently, and safely your body performs each action. Sitting, standing, bending, turning, stepping, lifting, balancing. Many seniors continue walking daily, yet their walking form slowly deteriorates. Their steps become shorter, their stride narrows, their toes drag slightly. Their posture leans forward, and their arms stop swinging naturally. They don't notice these changes because they happen gradually over years. But these small declines reveal bigger internal issues. Weakened hip stabilizers, reduced ankle mobility, stiff spine muscles, and slower neural responses. That's why walking alone isn't enough. Without resistance exercises to restore movement quality, walking simply reinforces the weaker, less stable version of your gait. But when you rebuild strength through focused exercises, you restore the mobility patterns that keep you safe. You regain fuller steps, stronger lifts, smoother transitions, and more reliable posture. Better movement isn't just about looking healthy. It's about preventing the small missteps that cause big injuries. Another deeply important factor is proprioception, which is your body's ability to sense where it is in space. Imagine closing your eyes and still knowing where your feet are. Imagine turning around without losing balance. Imagine stepping off a curb without hesitation. That awareness doesn't come from your eyes alone. It comes from tiny receptors in your muscles, joints, and tendons. As you age, proprioception naturally decreases, especially if you're not training it. The standing march exercise is powerful because it reawakens proprioception. Every time your knee rises and your arm swings, your body must identify its position, adjust your balance, coordinate movement, and stabilize the core. These micro-adjustments train your internal GPS. With better proprioception, walking becomes safer, stairs become easier, and sudden obstacles become manageable instead of dangerous. Seniors with strong proprioception experience significantly fewer falls. That's why this movement is so essential. It restores the body's awareness. Another crucial topic that rarely gets attention is reaction strategy. Whenever you slip on a wet floor or step awkwardly on uneven ground, your body uses one of three response strategies: ankle strategy, hip strategy, or stepping strategy. Young people activate these instantly without thinking. But as muscle strength weakens with age, these strategies begin to fail. The ankle strategy, where the ankles quickly adjust to regain balance, weakens because of reduced calf strength and stiff ankle joints. The hip strategy, where the hips shift to stabilize your center of gravity, declines when the glutes and lower back muscles are weak. And the stepping strategy, where you catch yourself with a quick step, fails when fast twitch fibers aren't trained. The three exercises we've been discussing retrain all three strategies simultaneously. The sit-to-stand strengthens the hips. The marching movement trains stepping reactions. The wall push-up improves upper body catch reflex. With improved reaction strategies, you don't just walk better, you recover from stumbles faster. It's also important to talk about the emotional psychology of aging, because strength isn't only physical, it's deeply tied to mindset. When seniors feel their body becoming weaker, they often unconsciously reduce their movement. They avoid stairs, avoid uneven surfaces, avoid long walks, avoid activities that once brought them joy. This reduces their physical ability even further, creating a cycle of fear and decline. But the moment they start regaining strength, the emotional cycle reverses. They begin moving more, feeling more confident, trusting their body again, and stepping outside their comfort zone. This emotional transformation is powerful. Confidence itself becomes a form of strength. When people realize they can stand up from a chair without help, or push themselves up from the bed more easily, or walk with a steadier gait, their entire worldview shifts. They begin participating in life again, traveling, socializing, visiting friends, enjoying activities, and that social movement fuels even more physical improvement. Strength training rebuilds not only the body, but also the emotional courage to live fully. We also need to talk about the small muscles, often called stabilizer muscles. These tiny muscles are not visible like the big thigh or chest muscles, but they play an enormous role in preventing falls and maintaining posture. These muscles are located deep around the spine, hips, ankles, and shoulders. They activate during transitions, when you shift your weight, change direction, get up from a chair, or balance on one leg. Walking barely challenges these muscles because walking is predictable and repetitive. But exercises like the chair squat and standing march heavily recruit stabilizer muscles. When stabilizers are strong, you feel more grounded. You wobble less. You recover quickly from small missteps. You feel more secure moving through crowded or uneven environments. And with stronger stabilizers, even tasks like gardening, carrying groceries, or getting in and out of cars suddenly become easier. Another overlooked area is breathing mechanics, something people rarely associate with strength. But posture affects breathing. When the chest collapses forward from inactivity and weak shoulders, the lungs cannot expand fully. When the spine becomes stiff, breathing becomes shallow. This reduces oxygen flow, causing fatigue, dizziness, and even balance issues. Exercises like the wall push-up naturally open the chest, strengthen the upper back, and encourage better alignment, allowing the lungs to expand more fully. Seniors who improve posture through strength training often report feeling more energetic and mentally clearer simply because they are finally breathing correctly again. We must also address the connection between strength and brain health. Studies show that resistance training has a strong positive effect on cognitive function. Why? Because strength exercises increase blood flow to the brain, stimulate growth factors that protect neurons, and re-engage neural circuits that walking alone never activates. Movements that require coordination, like marching with alternating arms, activate multiple brain regions simultaneously, enhancing memory, focus, and reaction time. Seniors who incorporate simple strength routines often report feeling more mentally sharp, more alert, and more capable of handling daily tasks. And finally, we need to talk about the future you want for yourself. Aging does not have to be defined by fragility, fear, or decline. Your muscles may get weaker naturally, but that doesn't mean you must accept weakness. Your balance may decline, but that doesn't mean you must accept instability. Your energy may dip, but that doesn't mean you cannot rebuild it. Every repetition, every movement, every small exercise session is a message to your body. I am still here, and I still expect you to support me. Strength at 65, 70, 75, 80, and beyond is not a miracle. It is a continued conversation with your body. And the exercises we're discussing are the language of that conversation. The final phase of Mason Holloway's battle began with a kind of silence that felt heavier than gunfire. It was the quiet that comes right before an empire collapses, an empire built on arrogance, fraud, and the illusion of untouchable power. The HOA board, once loud, proud, and smug, had retreated into desperate chaos. Their group chats leaked. Their accounts froze. Their lawyers quit. Evelyn's closest allies turned on each other, sending screenshots, audio recordings, and financial logs to investigators in exchange for reduced charges. For the first time, Mason didn't have to lift a finger. His enemies were destroying themselves. But Mason wasn't done. He had promised justice, not coincidence. And justice had one final chapter. He spent 3 nights compiling the full chronological dossier. The HOA's illegal surveillance network, the trespassing orders, the forged signatures, the secret slush fund, the manipulated property valuations, the cash bribes, and the off-the-record deals with corrupt city OFFI. Psyals who thought no one would ever dig deep enough to expose them. Mason dug anyway. He wasn't writing a simple report. He was writing the obituary of a corrupt regime, one that would never rise again. Evelyn Richardson, still clinging to a fraction of her fading influence, attempted to mount a counterstrike. She filed emergency motions claiming Mason had caused irreparable distress to the community. She begged the judge to grant an injunction halting all investigations into the HOA until proper procedural review could be established. That hearing lasted 6 minutes. The judge read 2 pages of Mason's evidence, adjusted his glasses, and told Evelyn's lawyer, "Your client is lucky this is only civil court today." The rest of the room heard it. Reporters heard it. Within hours, the quote hit every local news site. Evelyn's photo sat at the top of articles titled, "HOA President Implicated in Massive Fraud Scheme," and "Homeowners Demand Full Criminal Prosecution." Mason didn't celebrate. He simply turned off his phone and walked outside. The air smelled clearer. The woods around his cabin felt lighter. For the first time since buying his land, he didn't feel watched, judged, or hunted. He felt finished. But fate gave him one more moment before the curtain closed. The final showdown came not in a courtroom, not in the woods, but in a quiet conference room during the last mandatory mediation session before sentencing. Evelyn walked in alone, looking nothing like the iron-fisted ruler she once was. Her hair loose, her hands shaking, her eyes tired in a way that no amount of power could cure. Mason sat across from her with the same calm, unshakable expression he had carried since day one. The mediator asked if either side wanted to speak directly before signing the resolution that would dissolve the HOA entirely, surrender all seized assets, and finalize criminal charges for the board. Evelyn took a deep breath and whispered, "Why didn't you just move away?" Mason leaned forward slightly, not out of anger, but out of clarity. "Because I don't run," he said, "and because people like you don't stop unless someone makes you stop." Evelyn looked down, and for the first time, she didn't argue. She didn't threaten. She didn't pretend to be the victim. She just nodded, signed the documents, and accepted the end of her legacy. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was simply over. The dissolution of the HOA hit the community like a cleansing storm. Homeowners who had lived in fear for years suddenly found themselves free. Fees vanished. Restrictions vanished. The oppressive rules that dictated everything from lawn height to mailbox color evaporated overnight. People held a neighborhood cookout, not to celebrate Mason specifically, but to celebrate freedom itself. Some shook his hand. Some thanked him with teary relief. Some simply offered food and quiet nods of respect. Mason didn't stay long. He wasn't there to become a hero or a symbol. He had done what needed to be done, and now he was ready to return to the life he wanted, quiet, private, surrounded by nature, with no HOA breathing down his neck. He walked back to his land with the sun setting behind him, casting a long shadow that felt less like a burden and more like a reward. A month later, as winter rolled in, Mason received the final letter from the state attorney's office confirming that the HOA board had been convicted and sentenced. Evelyn got the harshest penalty, years of prison time, fines that would take a lifetime to repay, and a permanent ban from holding any leadership position ever again. Her empire was dismantled. Her influence was gone. Her reputation was beyond repair. Mason placed the letter in a drawer and didn't look at it again. Justice was done. Closure was real. The war was over. He stepped outside, breathed in the cold forest air, and for the first time since the nightmare began, he felt an unbroken peace settle into his bones. He had won, not just legally, not just morally, but completely. And so the story ends not with vengeance, not with chaos, but with stillness. Mason reclaimed his land, his freedom, and his future. The corrupt HOA that tried to crush him was dismantled and erased. The community rebuilt itself without fear, and the woods around his home grew quieter, calmer, stronger, just like him. In the end, the man who refused to bow became the reason an entire neighborhood stood tall again. This wasn't just a victory. It was a legacy, the kind that no corrupt board, no forged policy, and no power-hungry president could ever erase.